Hey Cancer, welcome to your yearly 2019 Sidereal Astrology forecast. All right, so this year there's going to be two key areas of emphasis for you. One is going to be where Jupiter is transiting your fifth house. So great year for expanding your worldview when it comes to your passions in life. All right, so what are you passionate about? Maybe it's hobbies, interests, maybe it's romantic, whatever it is, really good time to expand this side of yourself and try new things with your self-expression, your creative side, and cultivation of those passions. Now, Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node are all going to be in your sixth house of your work and routine. So lots of transformations likely taking place here this year. And with Saturn here, it's a great year to really build your routine or your health or your diet, things like this, or your work. Take the area seriously and build it. And with Pluto in the South Node, really maybe releasing some patterns associated with the area. So the eclipses are going to help you do that, release some patterns, break some cycles, and that's going to help bring some balance here to your day-to-day sector. All right, so along with this, Uranus is going into Aries in April, so there is going to be this transition of likely completion if you felt that there's been maybe some unique philosophies or things you've been learning that expand your worldview this past like 10 years, going into your 10th house of now changing up your work, your career, your public life, so that it can be more of an expression of your true self. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, Cancer, so here is your chart for the year. We are going to look at this month by month. Now, you will notice we're only looking at the outer planets here, and that's so that we can stay focused on the big picture of the year. If you do want a more specific look, do check out the daily videos that I do each day throughout 2019. Now, you'll likely also notice, for those of you new to the channel, that the signs here are different from mainstream astrology. So if you are new, definitely check out that link down below. You do want to make sure you're watching this for your sidereal signs because the signs are very different from mainstream astrology. So there's a birth chart calculator down there below, and you do want to see what your sun, moon, and ascendant are, maybe just your sun sign, and watch that particular video. All right, so Cancer, let's go ahead and first take a look at January because there's a lot going on that month, and it does set the tone for the rest of the year. There's going to be eclipses and also two of the most important aspects of the year starting at that time. So looking at the eclipses first, January 5th, we do have a solar eclipse in that sixth house of your work and routine. So new beginnings here. I think coming into the year, it's a really good time to set some new intentions regarding what's some releasing that you can do internally, what's some releasing you can do involving this sector. Now, the sort of process of getting there is becoming more aware of what are some patterns maybe that you may have regarding work or routine or health that are maybe unhealthy, or they're just kind of comfortable patterns that you've done in the past that as you become more aware of, you may decide you're going to release. And so as you do that releasing work, then the external releasing, if there is any throughout the year, becomes easier to do. It happens more naturally as we do that inner work. So really good early part of January to do that inner work, and give it time as well. This is Saturn in your sixth house. It's really a time of being patient with your work or routine or your health, taking the area seriously, discipline one step at a time. With Pluto maybe facing some fears associated with the area, right? And as you go into your deep psychology with it, facing those fears can be very empowering and very transformational. In fact, that's what this sort of stellium, as it's called, this three-way conjunction is all about creating more freedom in the area, to liberate you, to transform the area, the phoenix rising out of the ashes as the process of this. But like I said, it's a yearly thing, give it time, and there will be positive developments throughout the year with it. Now, the lunar eclipse on January 21st is going to be in your sign. Now, this is an energy that you'll likely have felt in 2018. So if you've noticed that in 2018, it's been a good time of exploring more of your independence, your relationship with yourself, your personal needs, things on this level. Really good to continue to do this up until about April. of this year once the North Node finishes Cancer. Now, the lunar eclipse will be in a sort of awareness of this. So late January, great time to do a status check with this. How is your relationship with yourself? How is your independence? What are some things you may learn about yourself and develop this greater connection to your active, direct, assertive side? Right, that's going to really help. It's almost like the key that's going to also help balance out a lot of this emphasis on your work and routine and health. Right, because in order to really have good health and work and routine, we do have to have like physical exercise, activity, know who we are, what we want, have that independent nature that I think will be a awareness and cultivation of late January. All right, so let's look at the rest of the year in terms of the eclipses, and then we'll come back to some of these other aspects so that we can stay on point with these areas that we've been talking about. So the next set of eclipses will be in July. And so July 2nd is going to be a solar eclipse in this 12th house of yours. Now, as we said, April, it's going to be the finalization of that independent work of independence that you're developing. And in April, likely a shift into what'll be some opportunities for you to explore more of the spiritual dimensions of life, or more of your rest, your alone time, maybe working behind the scenes, your creative side, things of this nature. So you'll notice that shift in April, but the real new beginnings will be in July with it. So July 2nd, great time to set some new intentions involving how can you connect to this spiritual dimension, to yourself really, to your spiritual self and your beingness. Because this is what's really going to help balance out a lot of the heavier energy involving the routine or the work or whatever this day-to-day stuff is. Because without rest, without peace, without presence, it doesn't really do much good, all this doing. Like in order to really do the doing, we have to cultivate the being. And so these eclipses, particularly in July, will be about incorporating these two and how to find that balance between the doing and being, and your work and your rest, or your physical life and your spiritual life, right? These types of things to really find that harmony. So great month in July to set those intentions there. Now, July 16th will be the lunar eclipse in the 6th. So if there was anything that started in January regarding that releasing work here we were talking about, if you released anything involving the routine or work or health, this could be a culmination of that, a status check as well. In fact, it's a really good time in July to see how's it going. How is the work, routine, or health going for you? And maybe what are some limiting beliefs you can let go of regarding that, because it's going to be very close to Saturn, the South Node. So releasing some self-limitations. And then with Pluto, really the whole first half of the year in particular, but maybe in July, releasing some fears. All right. So great time to do this status check, and there will be a transition, a harvest, a culmination of some things here, whatever started in January. But a transition nonetheless with whatever this awareness is. And it'll probably be awareness of what you, again, want to release, or some patterns you're breaking, or some cycles you're breaking that will then carry you forward for the remainder of the year, for the next 6 months. All right, and so there is going to be eclipse season starting at the very end of this year going into 2020. And so we are going to have a solar eclipse on December 26th. So with this, it's going to be in that 6th house. It's going to be conjunct Jupiter. So it's probably going to be this newfound sense of freedom or newfound sense of spirit from all of this kind of work you've been doing here with it. Now, I think that the work is still going to be taking place. You're still going to have Saturn here through 2020, Pluto, obviously, South Node's going to finish up. But definitely a new path, maybe a newfound sense of inspiration or potential or excitement or something involving your work and routine. So very late December 2019, great time to set some new intentions from that side of it. And just kind of a new journey, a new path involving that day-to-day sector. All right, so that's the eclipses. Now let's go back to January when we started the aspects here, because we're going to have two important aspects, and they are carrying out for most of the year. So one is going to be Jupiter squaring up to Neptune, and the other is going to be Saturn sextiling that Neptune. So both aspects of the year involving Neptune. So likely an emphasis here. Now Neptune's been in your 8th house this past roughly 10 years. And so this has been a good time of really finding that ebb and flow when it comes to the deeper dimensions of life, right? So what are your deeper spiritual values? and following those and letting them guide you, right? And even diving deep into yourself psychologically to accept all of these deeper dimensions of self, which then leads to greater peace and greater tranquility and greater acceptance in all of this. So it's definitely supportive aspects. Now the square to Jupiter, even though it's a square, it's with Jupiter. And so the challenge with this is that, I think throughout the year, there's going to be this great opportunity, like I said, for you to express yourself, have some fun, get into your lighthearted side, all this kind of stuff, or cultivate your passions, right? And so a great way of working with the square is how can you incorporate your passions with the deeper dimensions, or vice versa? How can you incorporate deeper dimensions into your self-expression? Because, at the end of the day, if you look at things that are actually fun or entertaining, like comedy is a great example, what's actually funny is things that are real, right? Things that are real and deep and true, that are like we hidden away, but we laugh about. It's therapeutic, So incorporating the depth into the self-expression, or into your creativity, or into your fun and all this, be very, very constructive way of working with this square. Especially if you do have any dreams or ideals about, these deeper things, or about your passions. It can be very constructive when you approach it kind of in that way. Now, the other side to it is going to be Saturn, and this is not a major aspect, but it's just a kind of opening, suggesting that this work you could be doing with your routine or health, or your self-improvement, could be, again, directly supported to your deeper psychological health, or your deeper well-being, and vice versa. As you, again, find that peace and stillness within the deeper aspects of yourself and doing the deeper work, you'll find that likely also very supportive for your health, self-improvement, and routine, and work sector as well. And just a bit of flow there with, I think, the receptive side of life and your work and routine, even though there's a lot transforming there in that area. All right, so those are the aspects. Now, in terms of Uranus is going to be going into Aries in April for good. Kind of dipped in there this time in 2018, but now he's in there for good and finalizing Pisces. So if over the past 10 years, if a lot of you or some of you have been learning new philosophies, or expanding your worldview and horizons in ways that were unique or different, unorthodox, maybe doing unique and different things involving travel or adventure, this is finalizing here in April, kind of solidifying the area in a sense that it's the final completion of where a lot of you have found a greater sense of that true self through expanding your horizons. Now, where Uranus is going, and for the next 10 years, will be in your 10th house. And so this has to do with career and your public life. So when Uranus comes in here, it's all about discovering your true self through your career or public or productive life, whatever you do there, and shaping your productive life or public life in such a way that it's a greater reflection of your true self. So it's a great time to try new and different things here, exciting things. Listen to your excitement here. Some of you might have multiple irons in the stove, trying a bunch of new things, mixing it up. Some of you even getting into things that are scientific or innovative or different or outside the status quo when it comes to your career or public life in some sense. So that's always good to mix that up there, and that willingness to be spontaneous and try new things, I think is going to be really supportive for that transit. All right, so Cancer, that is the year in a nutshell. Hope you all have a fantastic 2019. Now, there is a link down below for a 20% discount on a personal reading if you do want a personal reading for the year. Do check that out, but have a fantastic one. Thank you again for all of your support, and I will see you all next time for the daily forecast. Take care.